Today, we're at Telefónica's London office in Eyre Street for the second instalment of The Conversation with Nina Bibby, the Chief Marketing Officer of O2, and Charles Vallance, the Chairman and Co-founder of VCCP. O2 was actually VCCP's founding client when Charles and his three co-founders set up the agency in 2002, and they've been working with each other ever since on all sorts of interesting campaigns. I'm really interested to find out what kind of impact that dynamic has on the relationship between these two industry leaders.
I don't know if you've picked up on this, but it's really interesting. So you always say we. You never say you when you're talking to me. You never say they when you're talking about O2. It's always we. In other words, VCCP and O2. So it's definitely our shared ambition or a shared challenge, or what do we need to do, which I think is great because it's about us. There's sometimes a flip side to that.
I knew this was coming.
Because I get the phone calls, and sometimes you're a bit. Maybe haranguing is too strong a word, but it's very much hectoring. Thank you, or heckling. No, hectoring. Nina, what are we going to do about this?
Yeah. Especially with the founding client, to sort of absolutely know kind of where the limits are. I think in particular with when new members of your team arrive, I think we sometimes feel that they are immediately up to speed and equally familiar as, let's say, someone we've been working with 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And I am conscious that we're sometimes probably overstep the mark.
So they don't get that actually we're in this together, we're completely joined up. And so for them, they're like, well, hold on a second, what's happening? And yeah, it takes time for them to figure that out.
I do remember once or twice people in your team say, Charles, can you just sort of just simmer a little bit more, please? So I'm conscious of that, yeah. It's great to be collaborative, but I think we both have a feeling sometimes that things can be too consensual, and there has to be a place for people to be a bit unreasonable. So do you remember Markergate? I do remember Markergate. So Markergate was when we were in my office, to be fair, and I was stood up, so stood up at the whiteboard with a marker, which didn't work. And so I picked up another and another. I think I picked up 4 and none of them worked. And then I asked for some others, which I brought in, and they didn't work. And I basically took the container and, maybe figuratively, but threw it across the wall and sort of became irate. The fact that I couldn't just get a bloody marker that worked on the whiteboard. But I knew it wasn't really about the marker. That the indignation was more to do with 3 groups of people who hadn't been talking. But I think it's much better when people are frustrated that they show their frustration, and as you say, show their emotion, confront issues, be outspoken. It makes the meeting. How many meetings do you remember? So you make the meeting memorable, and it increases progress, and it's honest. Yeah, and also that's where creativity comes from. Tension and comes from those sorts of moments. So I couldn't agree more. I don't associate creative breakthroughs much with innocuous meetings. It doesn't happen in my experience. You're originally from New York City. You've been in the UK for 20 years or so. What do you miss most about living in America, in New York? I definitely miss the cocktails. I miss the weather. The US is a huge country. It's a huge market. There's scale and there's so much diversity. And so I miss that, that confluence of ideas, the inspiration, I think the innovation that comes from that. And I miss that sort of, inspiration, stimulation that can only come, I think, from that bigger market. It's a risk-taking market, I believe. Well, because the risk is rewarded by scale. I think the two are interlinked. So we talked about the US, but what do you like about the UK? So clearly I love UK because I have been here for many years. I chose to come here and I've chosen to stay here. I love the humor that's here. I think there's a quirkiness. I think there's, I think we embrace eccentricity. I think there's a tolerance here. That's what I love about it. Eccentric, quirky, humorous are, I think, typically British qualities. Yeah. And the other thing about English, and being an advantage of living and working in London or in Britain, of course, is although the Americans speak English, they don't speak it as well as us. And well, because we invented it, so you've got to give us a little bit of credit. But it is actually, funny enough, I think, a language that does allow for a lot of creativity. Yeah. And of course, not just in the arts and culture and film and media, but also, funny enough, I think there's a precision to the language that allows innovation, and I'm not surprised that we see so much innovation centred around Britain and America. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.